We got Peter King joining us here on Big Board Sports. Peter, Rodger Weiland in Albany, along with Chris Honorado. Good morning.
What's up, guys? How are you?
Hey, Peter. Good, Peter. I told the story about how when you would come here for Giants training camp, and they trained here for 16 years, that you enjoyed the Tri-City Valley Cats, who, by the way, are playing this morning at 11 o'clock. But you've taken in a few Valley Cats games over the years.
I have, and the 11 o'clock game would be very, very difficult for my craft beer intake. So I would not be a fan of the 11 o'clock game.
Hey, Peter, can we start?
But you know what? I'll tell you what. Whoever the road team is, they're a fan of it because it's getaway day.
You better believe that.
And they're going to they're going to be able to go home to Oneonta and be there at by dinner time.
Peter, what can you tell us about Ezekiel Elliott's situation? Not only the incident on Sunday night, but the NFL still investigating the domestic violence allegation. And I know Jerry Jones yesterday, the owner of the Cowboys, did have a comment for Zeke, saying he needs to think and also be concerned about the impact that he has on the Dallas Cowboys. Do you have any updates on Elliott?
No, not at all. I mean, basically, you knew that there was smoke about the domestic violence accusations going back to last year, because every time I would ask a question about it, you'd get we're still looking into it. And if this was something that wasn't significant, it would have died a slow death. And you would have heard about it by now, that Elliott has been cleared. The fact that it's lasted so long, there's definitely some smoke there. And I do believe, as Adam Schefter reported, that there's going to be some sort of penalty on him, some sort of sanction on him. The NFL sanction is when it's really an up in the air thing. I mean, everybody ridicules the NFL over the Josh Brown situation, but Josh Brown, basically the NFL couldn't get the woman involved, his wife, to talk. But that's not the case here. They've gotten the woman involved in this to talk, and clearly there's something that she has said that concerns the NFL. As far as his behavior on Sunday night, obviously it's a he said situation. Look, Ezekiel Elliott is one of those guys who right now has yet to realize that the NFL is not like college football. In college, you can get things to disappear. You can't really do that in the NFL. And I'm not saying he ever did anything other than go to bed at 10 o'clock at night and drink his milk and and behave exceedingly well. I'm not saying anything. All I am saying is that in the NFL, what I have found is that things that Johnny Manziel did in college and got forgotten and got swept under the rug, that doesn't happen when you get to the NFL. And so I think he has to learn that look, if you're in Columbus, Ohio, you can get people to do favors for you, and if you miss a game, it's not that big a deal. If you miss a game in the NFL against the New York Giants in the first game of the year, that could be the difference between winning a division and finishing in second place. So you better wise up, and I'm sure that's going to be the message very, very soon, if it hasn't been the message already, from the Cowboys to Ezekiel Elliott.
And it sounds like there is a possibility that Zeke would not be in the starting lineup for the Cowboys against the Giants in that first Sunday night game to begin the NFL season.
I believe that. I believe that he's in danger of missing it. When Adam Schefter reports something, it's fairly close to gospel. So I believe that that there's a good chance he's going to miss the first game of the year.
Well, the Giants last year beat the Cowboys a couple of times. You got a lot of Giant fans up here, Peter. And as you know, they trained here for 16 years. It's the lead team of ours, certainly of the regional teams of interest. What's your take on this Giants team that seems to have even added more offensive weapons for Eli Manning to work with? What's your take on the Giants after an 11-5 season a year ago?
Well, I mean, they addressed what they needed most of all. If you had said to me at the end of last year, what do you need? If you're Jerry Reese and if you're Ben McAdoo, I would have said, I need a pass-catching tight end. The Giants have been incompetent at getting offense out of the tight end position for virtually all of the Eli Manning era. And it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous how terrible they've done at that position. I'm not saying it's an easy position to find guys. If it was, they would have found 5 of them by now since 2004, but they haven't. And look, you don't know whether Evan Engram is going to be the answer or if he's not going to be the answer, but at least they spent the kind of draft capital that they needed to spend to get a tight end. And I remember around the time of the draft, there were some good running backs, available. And, everybody, a lot of people who I knew, I live in New York City, and a lot of people I knew said, do you think Dalvin Cook will be there for the Giants? I said, yeah, and I don't think they'll take him. Mm-hmm. And because I think the running back position, you're able to get guys down the road who can be productive for you. And so I think what the Giants did was smart in getting a tight end first.
Peter King of Sports Illustrated and the editor-in-chief of Monday Morning Quarterback. That's mmqb.si.com. And you can find Peter on Twitter at @SI_Peter King. And Peter, I do want to ask you about your cross-country tour you'll take here in a little bit across most of the NFL training camps, if not all. But the idea that Tom Brady brought up years ago that he may play well into his 40s has kind of resurfaced here a little bit with comments about Aaron Rodgers perhaps playing until he's 45. You've covered this game for a long time, and I know players take care of themselves differently than they used to. Do you think that's a real possibility that those two guys, and maybe even beyond Brady and Rodgers, could still play at a high level into their 40s?
Well, I think as of right now, anyway, in my mind, Tom Brady's the outlier. Tom Brady has just had a significantly better season at age 39 than he had at age 29. Depending on how you look at it statistically, all things considered, it's one of the 3 best seasons he's ever had. Probably one of the 2 best, along with 2007. But when you add what happened, obviously, in the second half of the last game, with the Super Bowl, where, in essence, he's an 80% passer over the last 5 drives of the game and puts up 31 points in his last 5 possessions of a Super Bowl. Essentially, I think he's just a totally, totally different person. Now, Aaron Rodgers has 7 more years to play at a high level to get to the point where Tom Brady is now. And I'm not saying he can't do it, but I'm saying it's all well and good for a guy who's 33 years old to say, yes, I intend to play till I'm 45, or I intend to play into my 40s, or whatever it is deep down Aaron Rodgers thinks. But whatever that is, nobody's ever done what Tom Brady is doing right now, which is playing truly great football, entering his 40s. Brett Favre had a good season, I forget, either 39 or 40. Warren Moon had a good season, I think, at age 40. So it's not like it can't be done. But I think that we'll see. I think Drew Brees is another guy. I think he's 39 this year. Drew Brees, another guy who wants to keep playing and playing well into his 40s, and we'll see. But I do think that what we're seeing is we're seeing the adaptation of how guys work out and what they do with their bodies as life goes on. I had Brady a week after the season for 76 minutes on my podcast, and one of the things that he said to me is that essentially, look, because I said to him, do you miss going out till 1 o'clock in the morning and having a great time and raising heck and all that. And he goes, no, I love what I'm doing way too much to miss, the party life. And to me, the party life now is being able to bring all my buddies and my family and everything to a Super Bowl. That is the pinnacle for me. And so I think most of these guys who say they want to play until they're 40 or 45 have just totally fallen in love with this game and want to make sure that they do not leave anything to chance. I'll never forget when Phil Simms ended up leaving football. I think he was 38 years old. And he said, the shame of it is nobody can fool me now. I feel like, as Brady told me, sort of a famous quote from my interview with him after the season out in Montana. He said, I've got the answers to the test now. Nobody can fool me. That is precisely what Phil Simms told me at age 38, where his body just couldn't do it anymore. And what's interesting, I've always thought this, that in the span of one generation, Phil Simms, who I consider to have really taken good care of himself, imagine if he did some of the things that Brady does, and I'm assuming that Drew Brees does. There's a chance maybe he could have played another 3 or 4 more years, but by then his back and his arm and his shoulder, I guess, were hurting him enough that he couldn't do it. But I just think there are so many more ways that players take care of themselves now.
Really quick, when I was in college, Rodger, I used to go to the same gym in northern Jersey where Phil Simms would work out. And the age difference, there was a pretty good gap. He would have kicked my butt every day in that gym.
I'm a big Phil Simms guy. I really am. He does a great job. A heck of a quarterback. Peter, we carry the Jets here on 104.5 at Team ESPN Radio. Do you have any idea who will be the starting quarterback of the Jets, and will the Jets be as bad as everyone expects them to be?
Josh McCown, and yes. I just think that I really don't know who's going to score points for this team. I do have some hope that, the guys who were so disappointing on the front 7 last year, especially the front 4, are going to be significantly better this year, especially Muhammad Wilkerson, because I believe that Muhammad Wilkerson and Sheldon Richardson are downright embarrassed over what happened last year. Now, there was some injury involved there, obviously. When you're not fully, totally healthy, it's hard to do everything that you want to do. But again, I just think this is a team right now that is clearly rebuilding. You can say whatever you want, tanking, whatever it is. You don't make the moves that they've done, and you don't do what they've done at the quarterback position, which has basically brought in a very smart caretaker of a guy, and say, geez, we think we've got a good chance to be really competitive this year. They don't. I don't think. And I think it'd be a big upset if they won 5 games.
All right, 2 more for me. I want you to end with give us when your tour begins and when it will end and all that's involved. But we got a lot of Buffalo Bills fans here too, and I know the question is coming. Is there any stinking chance, Peter King, that the Buffalo Bills can see the postseason?
Well, I think there's only one certain thing about the 2017 NFL season. And that is for the 943rd year in a row, the Patriots are going to win the AFC East. And that's the only thing that any of us know for sure. So that means that the Buffalo Bills are competing with, let's just say right now that the Oakland Raiders, the Tennessee Titans, and the Pittsburgh Steelers win divisions. Okay? So that means that of the following teams, the Buffalo Bills need to be better than all but one of them in order to make the playoffs. Miami, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Indianapolis, Houston, Kansas City, Denver. Now, I don't think they are going to be better than all but one of those teams. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. But one or two things always happen during the course of a season that you say, wow, I never saw that coming. And I don't even think this is one of those things that you'd be utterly shocked about the Bills if they won 10 games and snuck in. It's not impossible. But what's going to happen, in my opinion, I think three things have to happen. One, you got to go 4-2 in your division. Number two, you've got to win one or two games that people do not expect you to win. When you look at the team at the start of the season, they don't expect you to win. And look, this is a team that right now, and I'm looking at their schedule, okay, this is a team that in consecutive weeks is at Atlanta and at Cincinnati early in the season and closes the season at New England and at Miami. I mean, this is a difficult schedule. It's not an impossible schedule. You've got Oakland at home. You're at Kansas City. It's not impossible, but I find, when I was looking at schedules at the beginning of the year, I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but how bizarre is it that the Buffalo Bills, I think I'm right in this, the Buffalo Bills, after December 1, have the Patriots twice and the Dolphins twice. Mm-hmm. So after December 1, they've got all of their difficult division games all in the month of December. That's tough because you don't know if at that point it's going to be a battle of attrition. You don't know who's going to be left standing on any of those teams. But, I mean, you got Miami in week 15 and 17, and the Patriots obviously sandwiching that on the road. It's going to be tough duty for them to make the playoffs.
Peter, when does your tour, NFL training camp tour, begin, and how many stops are you going to be making along the way?
A week from, actually, what is today? Wednesday? Yeah, a week from yesterday, I'll be in Arizona, starting with the Cardinals, and then it'll go for exactly 4 weeks, finishing with a combined practice, the Dolphins and the Eagles in Philadelphia on August 22. So it'll be 4 weeks long. I'll be in 24 places, and hopefully I'll have a little bit of knowledge at the end of that. And so the next time I come on the show, I will be omniscient, Peter, about the National Football League.
What is the best stop along the tour not football related? So I know you mentioned your affinity for craft beer. What's the best stop or maybe most underrated spot?
Well, I'll give you two that you probably wouldn't expect. And now, look, I've never been to a training camp in Los Angeles before. Now, the Cowboys are in Oxnard, California, which is an hour north of L.A., 60 miles north of L.A. But this year, back-to-back days, I'm at the Chargers and the Rams, which will be weird. They're both down in Orange County, south of L.A., but a couple of them that I think are interesting and that I enjoy going to just because it's kind of a different world. And look, I've always loved going to Pittsford. I'm not going to make it there this year, unfortunately. Other people from our staff will. But I've always really enjoyed going to Seattle because they've got a very cool setup. They're right on the side of Lake Washington. They're the Seahawks complex. And I've got a little tradition with John Schneider, the GM of the Seahawks. After practice, at some point in the afternoon after practice, he takes me and we get a Manny's Pale Ale about 2 miles from where they practice at this little place. And so we've got a little tradition going, and I've never let him stop that. And then the other place I always really like going is Green Bay, just because, I feel like you can walk through the parking lot where people walk to get to practice, and you can walk through the parking lot and you will see license plates from 30 states. I'm not exaggerating. People take vacation to take pilgrimages to see the Green Bay Packers training camp, and it's just a cool thing. You feel like, man, what I'm doing is somewhat important.
Peter King, you're the best, man. We really, really appreciate a few minutes. We will attempt to get back in touch with you at some point down the road. I know you'll be busy, but hopefully at some point over the course of the summer after you've been to a few camps, we can get you back on.
Sounds great, guys. Really appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Peter.
Thank you,
appreciate
Peter.
it.